become a colony in the 21st century, it's not about tanks entering your country and taking over. You don't need to send the tanks in. You just need to take the data out. We are now seeing a new form of imperialism. You can call it data colonialism, when it's all about the data. Just imagine the situation, say, in Greece in 20 years, when somebody in Moscow or Beijing or Washington has the entire personal data of every politician, every journalist, every judge, every military officer in Greece. They know your entire medical record, your ailments, your problems, your past diseases. They have your entire sexual life. They know every bribe you took. They know every joke you ever told about some group or minority or whatever. Would Greece still be an independent country in such a scenario? Or would it be a data colony?
I guess the counter-argument to that is that a child in Somalia or Yemen or somewhere else, they have tremendous opportunities they couldn't think of because of this new world.
I'm not saying it's all bad. I mean, there are enormous opportunities and enormous dangers, but the thing is, it's extremely stressful. The child in Somalia may have new opportunities that didn't exist before, but to make use of this opportunity is extremely demanding. It's extremely stressful. This is what I was talking earlier about the need to keep learning and reinventing yourself throughout your life. It's not like you learn how to cultivate your field, like you're born into a farming community. As a child, you learn how to plant and harvest and drive the bullock cart and whatever, and throughout your life, you basically make use of that. No, that will not be enough anymore. And this need to, keep learning and keep changing, it's so stressful. I mean, we just now had this conversation with the CEO, with the president of Microsoft. And you asked me what I wanted to ask him. And in the end, I asked some important question. But actually, the question that bothers me as an individual is, why do you keep changing Windows all the time? That, every I dread this notification that, okay, Windows 10 is over, now you have to install Windows 20 on your computer, and I don't just leave it as it is.
That's a good point, actually. Yeah. You've talked about COVID as a watershed moment in terms of data surveillance and so on. Mm-hmm. Why are you so worried about it? That it will fall in the wrong hands, or that the autocracies will become more efficient?
Yeah,
What's your main concern?
It's a power that never existed before. It's not all bad, of course. It can provide wonderful healthcare systems also. But every new major power is a major threat. And again, looking back to the Industrial Revolution as kind of the historical perspective. In the end, industry gave humanity enormous power. In the end, looking from the perspective of the early 21st century, this power benefited us. The average person today in the world, in most of the world, there are exceptions, but in most of the world, has a better life than 200 years ago because of industry. Because of industry, we have better medicine, we have more food, we have better infrastructure. So, you measure things like child mortality. It has gone down from, say, 50% 200 years ago to 5% in all the world today, and less than 1% in developed countries. That's wonderful. But we had a steep learning process, a difficult learning process, when humanity needed to learn how to use the power of industry. In the middle, we had things like colonialism, the 2 world wars, Nazism, Stalinism. Eventually we learned, but we had to pass through these trial and error process. Now we have even bigger powers than industry, than steam engines and trains and cars. AI and total surveillance is much, much more powerful than trains. And we don't have any room for error. We can't survive another world war. If we have another Stalin, it will be not only far worse than the original one, it might be irreversible. That once you install this system, it has so much power that it will not, humans will not be able to change it anymore. You know, the threat of AI is not just for democracies. It threatens authoritarian regimes even more. If I think which are the first countries that AI will effectively take over, I think it will be countries like North Korea or China. Because when you already have, you know, to take over a country like the US, it's so complicated. Because power is like diffused everywhere. But when power is concentrated and hierarchical and you inject AI, it's much easier for the algorithms to take over. It's not like a science fiction movie. The robots are taking over. It's a gradual shift in authority. More and more decisions are taken by the algorithms, and the humans, they don't understand. They trust their algorithm, but they don't understand the decisions it is taking, and increasingly they find that they are becoming like puppets in the hands of this algorithm. And this can happen to China far quicker than to the US because it is so centralized. And you know, you just think about something like appointments. One of the most important things in a system like the Chinese system is appointing people to position. You'll be mayor, you'll be head of this section, you'll be head of this department. Now, increasingly, these decisions, at least on the lower level, will be taken by an AI system that gathers all the data on you from the moment you were born, what you did in kindergarten, what you did in school. It has all the data, and it analyzes it, and it decides, okay, this person will now be mayor of this town, this person will head this department. And nobody understands why. Because the calculations are far beyond the capacity of the human brain. And you know, so still the members of the Politburo, they are the result of human choice. But increasingly they look around and they see maybe that the entire party has been taken over by the algorithm. And they are powerless now to stop that or to change that.
But the ultimate Orwellian nightmare for you, the way I gather it, is a machine deciding whether you're going to get a bank loan, or a dictator knowing whether you're angry or happy with his decision, right? I mean, that's...
It's not necessarily evil. It can be used for good purposes too, of course. But if it falls into the wrong hands, then it will create a totalitarian regime that is far beyond anything I mean, the Soviet Union would look like a libertarian paradise. And, you know, in a way, even the scarier thing is that it's not evil, it's not Stalin, it's not Hitler, and still, it challenges the very meaning of human life because we are used to thinking about life as a drama of decision-making. You know, every great work of art, you think about ancient Greek theater, it's always about some big decision. Somebody, the hero, the heroine, Antigone needs to make a decision. Oedipus needs to make a decision. Now, what happens in a world when increasingly all the decisions are taken by an algorithm that knows you better? At first, the algorithm tells you which TV shows to watch, which books to read. Increasingly, it tells you what to study, whom to marry, where to live. And we don't have any philosophical models for understanding such a life. What it means to live such a life in which all your important decisions, all your life is being managed